here, the Minis and the Escorts. That's the front wheel drive against the rear wheel drive. And you have Shirley there, number 207, Rowan 2037, 4 abreast for these heats. 4 cars on the grid. Later on you'll see them spread over 3 rows of the grid. 207 there is David Shirley in the very, very quick 1340cc Mini. He's on the second place on the grid, and then we've got the aging Mark 1 Escorts of Toll there, the 1600 Escort, hand in the air, ready to go. The lights changed and they're in for the first corner.
And it's Paddy Brennan who makes the break into the first corner, the Mini following him through there, David Shirley, and this is of course the very early heats of a very big weekend of Rallycross here at Mondello. In third place, George Toll in the Mark II yellow and black Escort. We just see it there, a very experienced auto test man, but not so experienced in the Rallycross field. But Paddy Brennan in the 1600 Escort having no problems at the moment as he leads the pack.
Now the Mini should have the legs of the Escort on the loose, but the 1600 Escort in the straight line should have that power. But Shirley should be able to make up some of this ground as they come up for this very, very quick right-hander, which is very, very loose. The circuit here in great condition, very, very quick indeed. You can see how the Mini grain there, Escort getting very, very sideways. The Corolla in the background there of Dermot Rowan beginning to make ground on that Mark 1 Escort. Very, very tight hairpin there, that Budweiser tighter, straight off the tarmac onto the loose, and we're back with our leader there over at Mobile on the tarmac, just about to turn into Barham. Very, very loose section, gets it very, very sideways. We're losing a little bit of time, lost a lot of time there, got it very badly sideways, and Shirley beginning to make ground on him, Alan.
Yeah, I think just then we see Toho going off on the grass on the outside and getting the very close attention now of Dermot Rowan in the Toyota, an unusual motor car for Rallycross. But here are the leaders. The Tullow man well in command at the moment. Very nicely prepared Mark II Escort there, 1600cc. And just mopping up all the bumps and the rough stuff out of the back there. Of course, Rallycross, a combination of tarmac and loose, just gone onto the loose again. And this is where you see them get very sideways back onto the tarmac. And not using any means all the road, but then he doesn't need to, because he's managing fairly comfortably to stay ahead of David Shirley at the moment. 2 laps to go of this 5-lap heat.
Yeah, Shirley made a mistake there on the last lap on the loose, got it very, very sideways and lost all the advantage he had on Brennan. But Brennan seems to have settled down now in the Boyd Factors Escort. Shirley there getting through the hairpin very, very tight. Now just watch as Brennan works that steering wheel. He gets it set up here on the tarmac for the loose. The tail will step out nicely. If it steps out too much, it slows him right down. He has it right this time, as close as he can get to the Armco there. Very little sideways, has time to look over his shoulder to see where the second place man is, who's now losing out all that advantage he had in the earlier laps.
Well, now you would wonder maybe why he hasn't slowed down a bit, but it's all about time. In the heats for Division 3, which is what you're watching, they have 3 heats, and they take the best 2 results out of those 3 heats. So it's really against the clock as well as against his other competitors that this man, Paddy Brennan, is now racing. There's the little battle at the back. George Toll, I'm afraid, has slipped to the tail of the field. His daughter would not, under any pressure this morning, disclose what age this gentleman is. But he's in his latter years of motorsport, let's say, and there's the checkered flag. Paddy Brennan takes the checkered flag, and about half a lap behind we'll have George Toll coming in after him. David Shirley second, and Dermot Rowan just leading George Toll over the line on their very close battle. But it's undoubtedly Paddy Brennan. David O'Riordan, 33 years old, from Talla, on pole position for this heat, run 5 of heat 1 of Division 3. And there he is in his little rear-wheel drive Fiesta. It's a comparatively new car. It's got a 1.6 Ford engine. Alongside him in the, looks like the Sunbeam there, that's Brendan Broderick in the light green Sunbeam alongside him. Then we have Dennis Dunn in the Escort, and on the outside, Brian Harknett in the very attractive G4 Escort. Again, a very new car, but a very experienced driver. That's the lineup for this one. 5 laps to go. You're looking at a close-up now of Brendan Broderick in the Sunbeam. All very closely matched, 1,600 cars, away they go.
Yes, and the Escort got a fabulous start there. Dennis Dunn from the middle and closes the door right over. That G3 Escort coming up the outside should be the car to watch. but the Mark 1 Escort really at the moment closing the door, moving over to the right to block the sunbeam out there of Brendan Broderick, and still holds that line as it's going to loose. We can see the G3 Escort really working hard now. He's got to make a break, Alan, to get up on the tarmac, because on the loose the sunbeam will be able to hold him off.
Well, he was really too gentlemanly there, Brian Hartnett. He left, as they say in motorsport terms, left the door wide open. But Dennis Dunn has made the best start. He certainly had the best first lap. And then he comes, an experienced rallyman. But look at Hartnett now shadowing in behind him and pulling right across the sunbeam. In fact, hitting the sunbeam. And that was extremely naughty. And look at the damage he's done to himself. He's paid dearly for that one.
And we're back with the race there. The leader just gone through. Now that's the little Talbot there that he closed the door on, just didn't get it right. And that's our race leader there, Dennis Dunn, just coming off the loose at the Subaru chicane onto the tarmac. Will be working hard getting the car lined up here for the loose again. Turns in, has got to keep this car as close to the arm, go just there, get the line right. Doesn't want to drift out too far, losing a lot of time if he does, but has done it very nicely, leading through on back onto the loose, and the sunbeam doesn't seem to have the legs here.
So Brian Hartnett watching, no doubt, at this point now, more or less licking his wounds. And here's the man that he clouted, Brendan Broderick, who has suddenly recovered very well indeed, and is now beginning to put big pressure on Dennis Dunn. And there's still a long way to go. They're only about halfway through this heat, and Broderick is now undoubtedly the pressure man, number 241 there, the second of these two cars. So third person still running, David O'Riordan, slightly disappointing. The ex-hot rod man would have expected him to be more in this fight, but this is where the battle is.
Yes, and the Talbot definitely has the legs on the loose, so it's Dunn will have to do it all on the tarmac. And watch, once the little green Talbot gets on the loose, he can close right up on the tail. He's gone for the inside line as they come down to the hairpin. He's got the inside, he looks over, closes the door very, very late indeed. Dunn gets it slightly out of shape, with the Talbot now working on the loose and has just got the lead there.
So that was the old maxim in motorsport, slow in, quick out. He went far too fast into the corner, had to run wide, and left it an easy task for Brendan Broderick to shoot through. Now, after this, he will be coming up to go on to his last lap. He can't afford to make mistakes like that. He lost a little bit of time there, and Dennis Dunn, as we've seen, is a very forceful driver. He's not too far behind, or indeed now is David O'Riordan.
Dunn going out that time to take the quick line across the loose, having looked down the inside. He's not close enough. O'Riordan in the background, but closing up nicely under braking there. Didn't get it wrong, but on the loose again, the little sunbeam pulls away as they go out onto the tarmac at Mobile for the last time.
Brendan Broderick then coming now onto this long loose right-hander, Barham right-hander there, and he really deserves this win. He's played it very cannily indeed, and takes a very good heat win there. In second place, Dennis Dunn, and the only other finisher, David O'Riordan, and there he goes.
Our race winner now making his way back to the paddock, number 241. That's Brendan Broderick in the sunbeam.
So a good win for the Carlo driver. Fairly experienced driver indeed in the little Talbot Sunbeam. Very much the clubman's friend, these motor cars. They've been the backbone of
We're going to see that instant now. He just closes across in the G3 Escort, just got it wrong, turned in maybe 2 feet too soon, caught the right-hand front wing on the Sunbeam. Well done to Brendan Broderick there to hold the Sunbeam, now making a dive for the outside to avoid the spinning Escort as he goes off the circuit.
Well, now we're getting some of the really heavy metal here, because that's David Francis sitting on the line there, and just coming up to join him on the inside, I think it's Padraig Loughnane.
Yes, Loughnane on the inside of the Escort G3, very, very experienced drivers indeed. We saw Loughnane involved in a major incident here last year at this particular event. But it's Job, number 253, taking up the second position. Padraig Loughnane, as we said, on that pole position. Beside him, the very, very quick Davy Francis indeed. And we're waiting on Lipset to come out in the Mark 1 Escort. And he's just coming up to draw for this 4-car grid in these Heat 1, Run 6. That's Lipset on the outside of the front row.
And generally they're all 2-litre Pinto engined Escorts, except for David Francis, the car you're just looking at now, which has the Cosworth turbo engine in it, similar to your Group A Rally Cosworths. But Loughnane makes a superb start. One almost wonders too eager a start.
Yes, may have just anticipated the lights. Porlock Loughnane, a very, very good start. Need a bad start from Davy Francis. Seemed to get a lot of wheel spin, but David Job down the inside, holding that position. But that's our leader there, Porlock Loughnane, a very, very experienced rallycross driver here in Mondello Park, and I think we're down to 3 cars. Lips had just pulled off the circuit on the slip road, so it's a 3-car battle at the moment. Davy Francis in 3rd place and should really be up there with this very, very powerful car, getting a lot of understeer there, Porlock Loughnane. And look at Francis having a look up the inside, and he just powers his way by the little escort.
So Francis, a highly experienced driver in both rally spins, getting very sideways there. There must have been contact between him and Derek Job. He's had to muscle his way through, but in fact he's muscled his way through into the lead. That's superb stuff from Davy Francis. This car has been troublesome in its development, but now it seems to be working spectacularly well. So Francis pulling clear of the other 2, and I think maybe they have had a bit of contact.
Yes, these 2 really battling for 2nd place, and Job having a look at the inside of Porlock Loughnane, but Francis that time just got a slingshot off the loose here, dived down the inside. Now Francis trying to do the same thing, having a look down the inside, but just doesn't have that slingshot off the loose. Job closing the door, flicks it through. Francis here watching the tail of this car to see if there's any mistake. That's a long way around the outside. His only chance is to close right up here on the tarmac if he can, and get himself tucked right underneath the boot of Job on the loose as they come back out onto the main straight. This is where the mistakes are made. If you get it too sideways, you lose all that advantage. But out he comes. You can hear that little cry out of the dips. This is the battle for 2nd place, Job and Francis, and Job is the man in control at the moment.
So Francis in the lead, Derek Job in 2nd place, Porlock Loughnane in 3rd, and you can remember these were 2 of the big players last year here at Mondello Park. But Davy Francis, I think, had a rotten day that day. He really didn't get this motor car working too well. So the Cosworth engine, you'll hear the little wastegate sort of yelping in that motor car. You'll notice it really spectacularly in the Quattros when we see them later on. Going on to the last lap, and as you can see, ain't all that much in it, but a little bit settled by rallycross standards at the moment. So Cosworth Turbo in the 1st car, and that's I think what's making that nice little song.
Yes, that is the sound of Cosworth, but Job doing a superb job at the moment. He's really beginning to close in on this much more powerful car. He got it slightly wrong on the loose there. He's lost that advantage that he got. He got it very, very tight through them, and they're on their last lap and heading towards the checkered flag.
And David Francis is just about going to hold it, but I wonder, does he realise just how close Job is in 2nd place? And of course it's all down to the stopwatch. That's what really counts in these early heats, and that will mean a good time for Derek Job. So David Francis takes victory in run 6 in that rather unusual Mark III Escort. The highly experienced John Farrell in his G4, let's call it, Escort, because it's actually the Mark IV body shell, but of course rear-wheel drive Escort, Pinto engine in the front, 2-litre engine, developing possibly about 160 brake horsepower, maybe a little bit more. And there, coming up, that's a very interesting motor car indeed, of Clive Richardson, a Fiesta, highly modified as you can see, and that young man from the north is extremely good indeed, a very fast man indeed. He's been sort of runner-up in Northern Ireland Rallycross Championships, and he's somebody to really watch. We're looking at John Smith from Dublin in his Escort, a much more standard Mark II car. And then the 4th runner in this one on the inside will be Bill Barker in his little highly modified Toyota Starlet with a Ford engine again. There he is.
Yes, we're still with the first heats, and this is run 7, and it's Richardson and Farrell in the middle of this pack. Farrell on pole position, the grid marshal just giving him the thumbs up. When he runs to the back of the grid, the lights will change from green, and look at the start that Richardson Escort got. But John Smith on the outside being pushed out, but diving around the outside there and holding 2nd place, but it's Richardson all the way to the first hairpin.
And Barker getting very wild at the tail of the field there, enabling John Farrell to move up 1. So Farrell, and we remember last year again that that car of Farrell's was brand new for this event last year, and here's a new car for Clive Richardson. Richardson, who has entertained royally in a little Nova during the winter at some of the Rallycross series, is really one of the finds of the last couple of years in terms of talent at Rallycross, and certainly showing all that talent at the moment.
And the battle is for second place between John Smith and John Farrell, both in escorts. As Alan said, Farrell getting very sideways there in this latest of the escorts, having a look at the inside, but took that outside line to try and get a little bit of speed so he can get onto the tail of John Smith. These three well bunched together. That's our third. John Smith there in 2:57 seems to have dropped back slightly. He was gaining on our leader. There's our race leader, Clive Richardson, back out onto the main straight, but the battle's still on for second place.
Well, I think there's little doubt about this, the result of this one, but there's very much doubt about what's happening behind. Smith now has definitely pulled clear in second place, and both these men will be racing against the clock, and it's John Farrell who's having a fairly erratic run and not getting the proper lines because he's under pressure from Bill Barker all the way. He wasn't, for example, able to take a good wide line into that last hairpin. As we watch the leader, Clive Richardson, really now going for probably the best time we've possibly seen so far against the clock, using all the track, as you can see, and a little bit more, taking it right out over the curves.
Smith now coming under pressure from Farrell. Farrell seems to have pulled away slightly from the starlet. Smith through the loose. Farrell sideways there, Smith. John Farrell way out, taking a wide line to get that very, very fast line through the hairpin, and this is his chance to get right on the boot lid of John Smith as they go through this loose. It's a slight left-right chicane, and then they're back onto the tarmac. That's our race leader, Clive Richardson, in the Fiesta, powering his way back onto the main straight. But the battle is still on for that second place between Smith and Farrell, closing all the time. Out the outside, it's a long way around the outside on the loose, but this will be a very quick slingshot maneuver by Farrell, and he'll be looking for the inside line as they come down, but no, Smith keeps that inside line fairly closed, and the starlet now beginning to move up on the two of these.
Farrell on the outside, Smith on the inside. Farrell's going to surely lose out to Baker in that maneuver, but he's on the inside for the next one. This is the autocross expert. Here's our leader, Richardson. He's undoubtedly going to take it, coming up to take the checkered flag, but it's all open for second place. Richardson has, a good 30 seconds, I would think, over Smith, who's going to be second, Farrell third, and Bill Baker, and there would be very little separating them on the stopwatch. But Clive Richardson has certainly posted his intention as a major runner here this weekend. Well, we're just expecting two runners in this heat, and there is Tom Farrell, a highly experienced driver, brother of John Farrell, and coming alongside him, Tommy Graham from the world of hot rods. So you have an ex-hot rodder and an ex-autocrosser on the grid, and two very different cars, because Tom Farrell's cars, to put it mildly, it must be getting a bit creaky at this stage. He's been rallycrossing and autocrossing that car for 8 years, whereas Tom Graham's Fiesta is very new, and there it goes, streaking away.
Yes, this latest, Tommy had a very, very quick escort and decided to run for the Fiesta after seeing the success of them in England. This is a very, very quick Fiesta indeed. Tommy, a local sand and gravel man. In fact, he supplies Mondello Park with the surface for the loose sections, and a very, very quick and spectacular driver he is indeed. Rallycross, a mixture of driving on tarmac and on loose. They run on slick tires, which they do in Formula 1s and the other formulas. Farrell now making a move there on the loose, very, very quick. His autocross experience showing. They're back onto a tarmac section, which is the short main straight, and they turn in here at the main grandstand, back onto the loose. They've got to be very quick on the steering to correct the car from sliding too wide. A short tarmac straight again into a very, very tight hairpin, and the line here is all important to get onto the loose there, which is a chicane. They come off that at a very, very hard angle. They flick right just there, as Tommy did, onto the tarmac at Mobile, on the brakes, down a gear, and back onto the loose for the main straight.
So you're looking at Tommy Graham having it fairly well his own way at the moment, with 3 laps to go now, but Tom Farrell, the very experienced Tom Farrell, still shadowing him in the background. It's a highly modified Fiesta, this. It's got about 200 brake horsepower. It's actually a borrowed engine for this weekend, and there's probably the similar engine Mark II Escort behind it. But the Fiesta is rear-wheel drive, and if you look closely at that rear-wheel arch, it's not really in the normal position at all on a Fiesta. It's much further up the body. Possibly the little car working extremely well on tarmac. It'll be a shorter wheelbase than the Mark II Escort that he had last year. That may make it a little bit twitchier, and I'm surprised at how well Tom Farrell actually is staying with it.
Tom, obviously very, very quick on the loose, gets the car very, very well set up and comes out with a lot of power. In under braking, Tommy would have the legs on him under braking, a much lighter car, but when Tom gets on the loose at the top corner of the bar and bend, he seems to be able to power his way in this huge power slide and can catch up on the boot of Tommy. Tommy there working away at the wheel in the little Fiesta, turning onto the loose now, seesawing at the wheel to keep it really going in a straight line. Gets nicely out using all the tarmac to get as much grip as he can. Farrell seems to have gone auto-crossing, as they say. We've lost our second place man, running slowly at the moment. Looks as if he is in problems, running very, very slowly. But that's our leader, 727. Tommy Graham on his last lap into the Subaru chicane. A gear change just as he gets off the loose there. Keeps the right foot really to the floor on the tarmac. He turns in nice and tight here, gets the car set up on the loose to come out onto the straight, not too much sideways, loses a lot of time. Farrell's car stranded there on the main straight, and Tommy Graham takes the checkered flag in that run 8 of the first heats.
Well, certainly he will have had no obstacle against the clock, and that must have been a very quick time. 2:01, that's Philip Armstrong in the little Sunbeam Samba. Coming up alongside him, we've got the Mini there, the very, very popular Mini from days of old. And as you can see, our caption isn't quite correct there, because we don't actually have a Mini caption there at the moment. And that's Spendlove coming in on the inside there in the Metro, and he in the first on-timed run was really fast. He must be the favourite for this one, Brian.
Yes, and this is a rerun of the first heat. They had problems in the first heat, so the club have decided to give them a rerun. But the man to watch is Spendlove. Very, very quick indeed. It changed all the goodies from his very quick Mini into this Metro. Grid Marshal giving them the thumbs up, ready to go. And the one to watch on pole position, the little green Metro of Spendlove as he powers his way into the first corner. Pole position is the best spot, but it's the slowest line because you can't get a run, and if you're leading, you've got to take the inside line as you get into this hairpin, because this is where someone wants to dive down the inside. The little Samba there, which is very, very quick indeed. Philip Armstrong being boxed out, but this is giving Spendlove a chance to really get away on the tarmac, heading towards the loose again. Little Metro working very, very well on the loose, getting it a little bit sideways, gets it out onto the loose, losing a lot of time there, and we have a real battle on our hands.
Cecil Haffey in second place in the Nova, a very successful rallycross car they are indeed. And he's putting real pressure now on Spendlove. Spendlove looking round. That's a mistake. You really shouldn't do that in motorsport. So Spendlove possibly losing a little bit of concentration there, and really now getting under a bit of pressure from Cecil Haffey in second place. Philip Armstrong is in the Samba, and there's Haffey, nice close-up of him. Brand new motor car, as you can see. And Spendlove, who's a chef, incidentally, by trade, now being challenged by the Nova down the inside. He should be able to take it. There must have been nearly contact there.
Just nicely done it, well timed by Spendlove. He knew he had to get back into that first corner, but Haffey really having a look. The power of this Nova on the straight. Spendlove seems to have the legs of him across the loose, but at the moment, Haffey now coming under a lot of pressure from Philip Armstrong, the little Samba. Spendlove had the legs of them there. He gets off that, but the Nova through the loose here can really come out with a slingshot onto the straight. Oh, very sideways, looking over his shoulder again. Another mistake, and he made that mistake. He should have been looking for his goal. The Nova dives up the inside for the next loose.
So the chef has been demoted, and there's contact there. He's getting pretty fraught now to get back this lead again. Happy keeping on the outside. He's going to have difficulty getting across him. There's a lot of contact here, and Philip Armstrong is in just the right position to pick up places. That's a new car to Philip, ex-Willie McFittler car, his first outing in it. But Spendlove, now watch him. We'll watch him closely again this time. He's got a good advantage, however. And he's got a long lead this time as he comes out, but once again now he's looking down at dials. He's very concerned about something in that cockpit.
Looks as if he's having a problem with his gear change, looking down at the gear lever, but doesn't seem to lose out on speed, but he's got to hold this inside line. This time dives for the inside. Meanwhile, the little Samba dives down the inside and pushes him around. Very, very late on the brakes there, Philip Armstrong. Maybe just too late on the brakes. But Sven Love gains from this, still looking over his shoulder. Maybe he's lost his mirror. Maybe that's what he's looking around the floor for. It should be sitting up there. He has. He seems to have lost his rear view mirror from the windscreen and is probably rolling around, and there he takes that. A very, very good win after a tremendous battle.
With Philip Armstrong through in second place and Cecil Haffey third.
Well, we'll be back, Mondello.
Just in the first practice sessions, he's got about a 5 seconds advantage.